Eysenck's biological-based factor theory. Measuring personality. Eysenck involved 4 personality inventories that measure his superfactors. The first Maudsley Personality Inventory, or MPI. Eysenck 1959 assessed only and aided some correlation between these two factors. For this reason, Eysenck developed another test, the Eysenck Personality Inventory, or EPI. The EPI contains a Lie scale to detect faking, but more importantly, it measures extraversion and neuroticisms independently, with a near zero correlation between E and Hg. Eysenck B.G. Eysenck 1964-1968. The Eysenck Personality Inventory was extended to children 7 to 16 years of age by Sybil B.G. Eysenck 1965, who developed the Junior EPI. Biological basis of personality. According to Eysenck personality factors PE and all have powerful biological determinants. He estimates that about 3/4 of the variance of all 3 personality dimensions can be accorded for by heredity and about 1/4 by environment factor. Eysenck 1990 cited 3 trends of evidence for a strong biological component in personality. First, researchers McCray, Ali 2002 have found nearly identical factors among people in various parts of the world, not only the Western Europe and North American, but also the Uganda, Nigeria, Japan, China, Russian, and other African and European countries. In Eysenck's theory of personality, psychoticism, extraversion, and neuroticism have both antecedents and consequences. The antecedents are genetic and biological, whereas the consequence includes such experimental variables as a conditioning, experience, sensitivity, and memory, as well as social behaviors such as criminality, creativity, psychopathology, and sexual behavior. Personality as a predictors. Eysenck's complex model of personality shown in Figure 14.5 suggests that the psychometric traits of PE and can combine with one another in genetic determinants, biological intermediates, and experimental studies to predict a variety of social behaviors, including those that contribute to disease. Personality and behaviors. Do Eysenck 3 general personality dimensions predict behaviors? According to Eysenck's model shown in Figure 14.5, psychoticism, extraversion, and neuroticism should predict results of experimental studies as well as social behavior. Recall that Eysenck's theory assumes that extraversion is product of low cortical course ability. Therefore, extroverts compared with extroverts should be more sensitive to a variety of stimuli and learning conditions. Eysenck 1997 argued that the effective theory of personality should predict both proximal and distal consequences, and he and his son Michael H.G. Eysenck M.W. Eysenck 1985 cite studies that demonstrate extravagance, greater demand for change and novelty, and both laboratory studies and studies of social behavior. However, when investigators ignore these personality factors, they may find no difference in comparative effectiveness of discovery versus reception's learning style. Eysenck 1995 also hypothesized that psychoticisms be related to genius and creativity. Again, the relationship is not simple. Many children have creative ability, are not conforming, and have unorthodox ideas, but they grow up to be non-creative people. Children with the same creative potential who are also high in psychoticism P are able to resist the criticisms of parents and teachers and to emerge as creative adults. Similarity Eysenck and SBG. Eysenck 1975 reported that both high P courses and high E courses are likely to be trouble marks as children. However, parents and teachers tend regards the extravagant children as a crying guest to the forgive their misdemeanors, whereas they see high peak courses as more pitiful, pre-practive, and unlovable. Those the high is scoring trouble marks tend to grow into the product adults, while the high P scoring trouble marks tend to continue to have learning problems, to get into the crime, and to have difficulty making friends. As Eysenck 1997 again, Eysenck believed strongly that psychologists can be led astray if they do not consider the various combinations of personality dimensions in conducting their research. However, when investigators ignore these personality factors, they have found no difference in the comparative effectiveness to discover various receptions learning style. Eysenck 1995 also hypothesized that psychoticism be related to genius and creative. Again, the relationship is simple. Many children have creative ability, are non-conforming, and have an unorthodox ideas, but they grow up to be creative people. Children with same creative potential who are also high in psychoticism are able to resist the criticisms of parents and teachers and to emerge as creative adults. Personality and disease. Can personality factors predict mortality, cancer, and cardiovascular disease (CVD) beginning during the early 1960s? Eysenck developed much attention to this question. He and David Casey Eysenck 1962 found that people who scored low neuroticism on the Maudsley personality inventory tended to suppress their emotions and were much more likely than high-end scorers to crave the later diagnosis of lung cancer. Later, Eysenck teamed with Yugoslav physician and psychologist Ronald Grossart, Matizek, Eysenck, and Grossart, Matizek, 1991. Grossart, Matizek, and Eysenck, 1989. To investigate not only the relationship between personality and disease, but also the effectiveness and behavior therapy of prolonging the life of cancer and CVD patients. Grossart Matizek had used a short questionnaire and long personal interview to piece people into the one of four groups of types. Type included people hopeless, helpless, non-emotional reactions to stress. Type people typically react to transactions with anger, aggressions, and emotional arousal. Type people were creating from the typical reactions of type people to the typical reactions of type less and then back again. Type individual regarded their own autonomy as an important condition to their personal well-being and happiness. In the original study of Yugoslavia, type 1 people were much more likely than others to die in cancer, and type 2 people were much more likely to die of heart disease. Type 3 and type 4 individuals had very low death rates from either cancers or CVD. Related research. Eysenck developed the Eysenck Personality Questionnaire and its offshoots. Eysenck 1959, Eysenck 1964, 1975, 1993. The EPQ was been used in conjunction in neuropsychological and genetic measure to assess the biological basis of personality. The biological basis of extraversion. One of the major thrusts in Eysenck theory is the personality dimension are not arbitrary creations of culture but rather result from the basic genetic and neurophysiological make-up of the human species. If there were biological basis of personality, so the assumption should hold true. First, neurophysiology difference should exist between people high on and that dimension for exstances and variations in their high on the other end of the dimension, for instance extroverts. Second, the basis of personality dimension should be universal and not limited to a given cultures. If, as Eysenck proposed, introverts has a threshold of arousal than the extroverts, then they should be more creative, that is sensitive to sensory stimulations. One way to test the ideas is to present both groups with varying instances of stimulations and measure their psychological creativity. Over the past 30 years, a substantial amount of research has explored cognitive, behavioral, and psychological measures of creative and relations that extraversion, introversion by Dussel, Brucker, Louis 2006, Eysenck 1990, Stillmark 1997. Biological basic of neuroticism. Recall that Eysenck 1967 postulated that neuroticism results from increased activity or responsiveness and lower activation threshold in the limbic system. The pattern is the same of inversions, but the locations of different inversion involves in creative activity and lower thresholds of cortical and reticular arousal rather than in limbic system arousal. The limbic system is composed of subcortical structures in the brain involved in emotion and motivation primarily, and amygdala and hypothalamus. In general, there is quite a bit of empirical evidence supporting his theory. For instance, Binsick 2015 conducted a meta-analysis on the topic of neuroticism and the structure and functions of amygdala. It is quantitative review of the electron and tells us how large of effective there is across all studies rather than just one. Another research suggests that there are reductive neural connections between the amygdala is other brain regions involved in controlling thoughts. Increased psychological creative has been sweating is also associated in neuralism. They found particular support of these predictions in that the violent fear scenes production greater galvanic skin conduction differences however did not exist. And some of current research on the biology of neuroticism support Eysenck's theoretical ideas going back to the 1960s, namely that differences in limbic personality and disease. Can personality factor detect mortality, cancer, and cardiac disease? That's all. Thank you.